Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good evening. This is Grant Willis from the Amateur Radio Experimenters Group. We're here tonight to talk to you about the Central State Repeater Network presented by Dean VK5HQ. And he'll tell us what we've been up to at Summertown and what's been going on the wider network this year in Adelaide. So over to you, Dean.
Thank you, Grant. Good evening, everyone. Good to see a good roll-up. And I'm here to just bring you up to speed with what we've been up to at Summertown, as it's been a work in progress for a few months. And I think it's time that we reported back to show you what we've been up to and give you some ideas as to how to use the system. I've got a question before we start. How many people here you listen to the system? Most of you. That's good. How many use the system? That's good. No, that's good. I was wondering. I mean, it gets used and it's really good. But I'm always keen to get people to come back and use the system a little bit more. Okay, so all this was brought about by, as you're aware, the RAD site was decommissioned. It's been there since 1973. So it's been there for a long time. And of course, our hub repeater was RAD 70. So we had 6 months to come up with an answer. It was either shift the hub or shut the system down. So we were desperate to come up with an answer. Hence where AREG come to the rescue. And after some discussions and working out how to do it, we decided to use RSB 70, which is at Summertown, as the hub. So I was very thankful that that chance came along. And however, we knew that we needed to upgrade. There was lots of changes we had to make, so it was a bit of a job to do. And it's still in the process. We're not finished. But we've got the system up and running and it seems to be working well. So there's been, it's been flat out for the last four months. So RAD is no more. RAD 70 is no more, should I say. The RAD site, or the Crayford site, is no more. That tower was taken down 3 weeks ago. And about 8 years ago, I spent a lot of time on that tower to fix it up and put it back up again. So I didn't want to throw it out. So we packed it up and put it on a truck and it's up at Marook. So we intend to use that tower again to upgrade Marook, as their tower is in a bad state of repair. It's unclimbable. Well, it's climbable, but, you know, it depends. Yeah. You'd want to be in a bad state of mind to climb that tower. So that tower is going to be repurposed, which is a good thing, and with the help of AREG and a lot of ideas thrown around, that's what we decided to do. So I'm pretty pleased about that. So, okay, so that's where we ended up where we are today. And to be honest, it's the best thing that's ever happened to the system. Okay, so the heart of our system, as I have talked about before here, is the ARCOM controller, which comes from America. It's built in, well, it's not built in America. It's designed, and the kit form comes from America. An amazing piece of machinery. It really is. The system wouldn't be what it is without that controller. We're still learning about it today. We're probably a third of the way through learning what it can and can't do, but it really makes this system work and work very, very well. So AREG purchased a new controller and we have set that up at RSB. So we have RSB 70 centimetres going into one port. We have RSB 2 metres going into another port. We have the RSB link. So with this system, we've upgraded to have separate link frequencies. We're not listening off air. We've got our separate link system. And then also in the controller, we have a dedicated receiver which just listens, and it gives us, we can access the system through that receiver. If every repeater was locked up and everything had gone wrong for some unknown reason, or we had a myriad of button pushes, we can still get into that control and switch it on. So, and it also, the dedicated receiver also has the ability to, let's say, perform the Wyson broadcast on Sunday mornings. So we can feed it in through that receiver and it'll come out whatever repeaters we want it to come out. So they are a great thing. I must say thanks to VK5 AI. We purchased two of them actually in kit form, and Arthur built them for us and done an amazing job, and they work. So that's much thanks must go to him because he's done a really good job. So that's where we're at. So some of the changes, we've made some changes to the system in this upgrade. We're forever learning and forever experimenting, I suppose. So one of the main changes that I'm sure everybody, because nearly all of you listen, is this annoying 5-second tail, which we have going on. Now, this is done for a reason, which I will attempt to explain with this picture. So what we have is your normal input. So you're talking to somebody and they're coming into that repeater. Now, there was two things that annoyed me was static crashes, and there used to be two of them. So there was one when the person you were talking to dropped the button, so it crashed, had a crash when the receiver went down, and then when the repeater switched off, you got a second crash, which is, after a while, you know, I dreamt of static crashes. It was just crazy. So we had to fix this. Now, I talked to a few people around. I talked, Paul was a great help with this because he understood what we were trying to do. And so the first thing we did was we put, now we have in all the repeaters, we have a audio delay system. So it delays the audio by about 50 milliseconds as it goes through the system, which enables us to take out the first static crash. So when the person you're talking to drops a button, you'll notice it's just drops off. It's quiet. So that was the first thing we did. So we got rid of the first static crash. And the second static crash is the reason for the 5-second tail. So the repeater transmitters all go for 5 seconds. The CT tones don't. So the CT tone, or the 91.5 on the transmitter coming out into your radio, will transmit for 1 second, and then it goes. So if you've got your radios on tone squelch or decode, you will notice that there's just nothing. You'll just hear a slight tail and then it just drops away and there's no noise at all. So, and then the last 4 seconds, because that tone drops out after a second. So then there's 4 seconds at the end of the TX where that TX is going, and you can see it's going, but there's no noise. Now, the reason for that is that as soon as that courtesy tail, some of them have the courtesy tone, you'll hear the beep. So as soon as that finishes, you can talk. Because all our timers now, as you see by the picture there, the timer resets as soon as the person you're talking to drops the button. So there's no worries about timing the repeater out. And as soon as that courtesy tone has done its thing, we'll say about a second after, most courtesy tones are about half a second. So you say a second after, you can talk. Now that helps us greatly because every transmitter, the 12 of them keep going. They don't stop. So we don't have to fire them up again. And it also alleviates that first 1 or 2 syllables that sometimes you can miss. When they talk, as the whole system is CT tone controlled, it takes time for the whole system. You can imagine there's 7, 8, and 9 CT tones have got to trigger each other before the whole system's fired up. So that doesn't have to happen. So you don't have to wait for that 5-second tail. And if you've got your decoder on or your tone squelch on, you don't hear it anyway. So you'll hear the beep, beep, and then you talk. And you find that you won't miss any of your speech coming out the other end. It's quite efficient. So that's the idea behind it. But the way to make the most of it, of course, is to have your tone squelch on. That's what it's set up for. And it's a bit of a change, but once you get used to it, it's silence. It's just, you hear a voice and then there's nothing. Once again, it's a poor man's GRN. It's just voice, nothing. So it does work well. It does work well. So that's one of our changes, which we've made up there. I will run just quickly through some of the other changes. I've got them written down here. The separate linking system, which I've just talked about, our separate linking system. I'm on a roll. No, you ask now.
Normally you'd say have a good gap between individuals transmitting on a repeater to allow somebody else to come in. What you're saying now is give a couple of seconds, but don't take more than 5 seconds before you start transmitting.
You can let the system drop down. That's no problem. It'll all fire back up again. And yes and no. So you can wait for 3 seconds. Right. And if the system is still up like that, the person breaking in doesn't, because the system's fired up, you will hear them straight away. It's almost like somebody trying to call you on simplex. You just hear them straight away. So that's the benefit of it, because sometimes people are so quick, they'll go, this is HQ, and you might hear the cue. You go, oh, I don't know who that was. I don't even know if that was somebody. Where if you give them that couple of seconds, or if you're expecting somebody, you don't always have to call in after a second, but you can. You can do it. And if you're wanting to get something, I've noticed we've had a few callbacks on them. And it's very quick because they can just keep coming in, keep coming in, keep coming in, and they don't have to let the system shut down. So, yeah, that's the benefit. That is the benefit. As it says there, you can start talking. You don't have to, but all your timers are reset. The repeater is ready for you at that time to swap over. So with our link radios, we've sped up their behaviour, which is directly linked to this because they're all going. So it's amazing how quick the system can swap from one repeater to another, and it's instant. It's within 1/10 of a second. So you don't have to worry about waiting. I hear sometimes people say, "I'll give it 3 or 4 seconds for the repeaters to reset and get their brains." You just don't have to. That's just not required. Another feature we've fired up on the system is a receiver priority. So this system alleviates doubling. So if I'm talking on RSP and someone tries to transmit on RAH, it's simply not possible. The system is programmed so the first receiver to be triggered, as soon as that's triggered, it switches all other receivers off. So you can trigger RSB and RAH's receiver is off, RMB's receiver is off, and it will not reactivate until that person lets the button go. So that does save, sometimes we get some less desirables trying to transmit over the top of people and do stupid things. Can't be done. So I've got to wait for the system to have a receiver free and then away it goes. So that's quite handy. The 5-second tail, we've made some audio upgrades which you may or may not notice, but we certainly do. The audio quality now that we understand the controllers a lot better is I think is really, really good. And also at RSB, we have experimented with feeders and combiners. So with the help of Paul, VK5BX, we now have 9 different frequencies going up and or down the one cable. So we have the VHF system, the UHF system, the UHF link system, the APRS system, and the backdoor receiver, all going up one cable. And it just works a treat, which has been an experiment, but we can do it now and we can see that we can do it, and it just makes things so much easier, especially when you're on a tower like RSB. You don't want half a dozen antennas up there. We just want to share. And you're just a low impact visually is the way to go. So in that picture, there's the control panel with all the fuses in the middle. Then we have APRS. Then we have UHF. Then we have VHF. That one there is the linking system, the 2 separate receive and transmit signals that go to each side. And in the bottom there is the controller on the left and the receiver on the right. So it's all there, and above all of that, it's all the combining system that Paul's worked with us to, and you can see that in the back. So there's a bit of activity going on up there, but it really works. We're quite happy with it. Okay, so they're the main changes. So just to give you an overview, you can see there that RSB is in the middle, and RSB directly talks to those repeaters. So you've got RLH right in the top right, which is yet to be connected, but it's about to be done. We've got RBV, which RSB talks to, RMB talks to. We've got RAH talks to, RKW it talks to, RSA it talks to, and then all the other repeaters are linked to one of those repeaters. So that's the basic system which we had to develop, and we needed to have extremely strong signals coming from all of those repeaters to keep the noise down. So it's, apart from Victor Harbor, which used to be straight through, it's a bit of a tricky one, but other than that, the system works great. Works really, really good. So we do have a couple of future repeaters in the pipeline. We've got one that we are helping Elizabeth Club put up on their water tower. So we're going to connect that one in, hopefully. And then south, we are hoping to get one in the Wollonga area soon to cover that area. And then I think we've got most things covered here in the city. So, but they're a work in progress. Okay, next slide. Coverage maps. So the coverage of the system has just ever increased and it's ever improved. There's not much that we don't get. That's RSB. So you've got that's 2 and 70. So the 2 metre one was a surprise because it did cover more than we thought. It seems to work really, really well. Keep in mind it's got a 0 dBd gain antenna on it. It's just got one single dipole, but that's what we run with. They're very reliable and they don't have patchy coverage. They seem to work very, very well. So it works well. Next one. Other network repeats. So what we are, as I said, we are planning to extend the system, not too much further, but just to fill in a few holes that there is some spots where coverage is a bit patchy, like I said, down south and up north. And we've also done a bit of homework further north. We've had some interest from northern places to connect to. But that's work in progress. So there's a picture of RMB out at Mount Beaver. And if you look closely, there's a bloke on top of that tower. He's right up the top. But that is, you can see what we started with there. And the end result is over on the far right there. So we've put it in a rack. We've sorted it all out. It's a really good setup, works very well. That covers nearly down to Tintinara and does a great job and has never let us down. And as you can see there, coverage is quite large. Does a really good job. Once again, it's only a single dipole. That's 200 foot. Yeah. So that one works great. That one works really well and covers that zone. Okay, next one. Okay, the next one, I'll just run through these quick because I have shown them before, but it's just good to have an upgrade. So that's RAH, which is a Lobethal. You can see the rack there that we've built and it's all set up and it's pretty hassle-free, that one. We never touch it. And you can see the tower on the side. The tower on the side there is on site and we are right at the top. We're right on the top. You can't see it. Can't see our antenna. Once again, it's only a single dipole. So that one, it's a bit of a freak, that repeater. It seems to get places where it shouldn't, but it does work well. And you can see the coverage there and it really, really works, So very pleased with that one. Okay, next one. I call this the RAA site, but it's up near RWN at Houghton, which is VK5HQ. It's 70 SEMS, which covers the northern area. There's also a fusion repeater on that site. Can't see the antennas there either. It's a single dipole for UHF and it's just hassle-free. It just works so well. So it works great. It covers the northern area, which there's there was a few dead spots from RAD. RSB's been an improvement. So it covers that area a lot better, but you can never have too much overlap. So you've got choice. So that one also works well. Okay, Victor Harbour. This was a hard one, but it does work extremely well. It's not in the system yet. We've got to work out a way to get a signal to it, which we think we've worked out. But as you can see there, it's all built in a very similar vein to all the others. And this was a great test, this repeater, because you can see Shane up there at the base of the aerial. There's a 4-bay stack up there, 4-bay stack of dipoles. And just, you can nearly reach it. There's a 1 kilowatt FM transmitter right there. So, yeah, you can see your hair pulse to the music when you're up there. That was a great challenge because you just needed a multimeter to measure the current coming down the cable. But we worked our way out with the help of Paul and a few others. We worked a way to get that out and it doesn't affect the repeater anymore. So that was a great learning curve. But I'd like $1 for every time we've driven to Victor Harbour. It has great coverage down along the coast, down towards Salt Creek. And in the local area, it's just brilliant. All for Victor Harbour, where the people are. And so it does, again, it works very, very well. It's a good repeater. And if there's ever any conditions around, it's a really good one to listen to because that's where they come into first. They come from Tasmania and the likes. So yeah, it's quite amazing. Okay, next one, please. Okay, speaking of challenges, it took us half a day to work out which one was our antenna. But anyhow, and the problem with this was a very challenging site once more. I don't think we'd have got this going without Paul because it was nearly had me stumped. Yes, Grant did a lot of work too. He did so. He was working out frequencies and harmonics, and we had on that site there's 154 licensed frequencies, and that is a very large GRN site. And I don't know, is there 20 or 30 of them going? 33. Yeah, all 100 watts, all chirping away, looking at me straight in the face. So that was a challenge. That was a huge challenge. So, but it works very, very well. It's still very sensitive. Lots of filtering, as you can see. And Quanta, Motorola Quanta was the only radio that would survive up there. Everything else just turned to liquid. It's really tough, but it was a great learning curve, great experiment to see if we could do it, and we did. So it works really well. As you know, we've just brought that back online last weekend. So it's in the system again, and we're pleased to have it back. We really are.
Probably one comment to make too. We wouldn't be up there if it wasn't for Kern Wi-Fi. We have to put a plug in for them. You don't want to try and pay commercial rates to go up there. So we're very, very fortunate that Kern's able to sponsor us.
Exactly. Yeah, no. Phil's been great with this one. We have good access to it, and it's worked very well. And if all else fails, we can watch the cricket. So it's a very good site. It's a great site, and it behaves well. VK5RBV, which is on Mount Kitchen in the Barossa, we rebuilt this site. It's in a very good spot. We've put new antennas, dipoles, we've done everything to that site. It was a complete rebuild. So it was like most sites, they were 30 years old. So it works really well. It talks straight to RSB now, so that it's very strong signal across there. So its reception is great. It's really, really good. So, and it covers a large area. That coverage map does not do it justice. It really gets out north. I can work that on a handheld in Waikerie. So it's really good. It really goes well. So it's been a great addition. And we also, that's where we springboard towards the Riverland from there. So here's RWR. Bob and Ray's creation, which does work extremely well. Again, I keep saying they work extremely well, but they really do. And for where it is and how high it is, it's got massive coverage, and it's talking straight back to RBV. So it talks to the Barossa, and then in turn the Barossa talks to RSB in the city. So it's on the second hop. It's given us no trouble at all. Once again, it's dipoles, and it just works. It works. A really good repeater. Really good repeater. It covers a lot of area up there. It fills in that hole between RBV and RLD, which is Marook. And there's Marook, the one that's about to get a new tower. That bloke up the top, he was suicidal. I don't know what he was doing up there. At any rate, I didn't know before I got up there. But what I know now, I won't climb it. So once again, very much the same build. Great coverage, works really, really well. And it talks back to RWR in Waikerie, which in turn talks to RBV at the Barossa, which in turn talks to RSB in the city. And if you're talking on the system from RLH, say Clare, you're talking back that way too. So there's quite a few hops involved, quite a few hops. I haven't counted them, but I think one of them was we were going through 13 transceivers to get to the other side. So by the time you go through linking inputs and outputs and through the repeater and then into the links, you sit down and say, well, it's going through 3 receivers come transmitters just to get out of a site. So it does a really good job. Yes, it's about 30 foot high. and it's climbable. So we can put this really good antenna right up the top. So we've got all that lined up. So we're going to make that site really good. So this is RLD here, so that this site works well. Next one, RLH up at Lockhill. Oh, well, okay. Beautiful. So this was another site that we completely rebuilt from scratch, new antennas, and on it goes. So different repeater, new controllers, it's all been done. So you've probably heard this one. It does get out very, very well. It gets back into the city. It seems to get all over the place. So it covers an extreme area, a huge area. And once we're very keen to get this back into the system, so in the next 3 or 4 weeks, it'll be back in because it does cover a lot of that northern area. We have a lot of people listening from up there. So it's also, most of our sites are very strategically high. So we do, none of them underperform. Okay. So just to confuse you more, here's a extended version of the linking that we have. So you've got RSB in the middle there. Now RSB's got 3 standalone repeaters, which are there in the blue, and you can see there was one repeater there that we didn't have any photos for, which was at the end of the line at VK5 RMK at Renmark. So that one is also a repeater linked into this system, which is a UHF repeater at Renmark. So you can see how far that signal's got to travel if you're talking from RSA. It's got to go through the RSA system, through the RSB, through the RVB, through the RWR, and on it goes. So, but it does work very well. So RVH has got to come back in, and so does RLH, and then we'll take a breath. So that gives you some idea of how all this works, or what's linked to what, mainly. Yeah. It's all UHF. Yeah. $13. Yeah. Yeah, I know it's a few, and hence why we've concentrated, since this rebuild, we've really concentrated on audio signal to noise ratio, which we all learn. We weren't super experienced in this, but we've certainly become experienced because we've improved it, and you can just tell when you talk from one end to the other, the signal to noise ratio or the voice quantity is just so much better. So we're really pleased that we made the move, because if we hadn't, we probably wouldn't have learned a lot of things that we have.
On multiple hops, when you go from one radio to another radio to another radio, each one, because it's an NECAM system, has a audio pre-emphasis and a de-emphasis and a pre-emphasis and de-emphasis. Now, if that isn't an almost flat response end to end, you'll end up with a head in the bucket type sound. So the high frequency cut off to try and improve the noise ratio. That happened in New South Wales, and this did a whole like that. Yeah.
Yeah, our attention to audio quality and the shape of things on an oscilloscope has greatly increased to make sure that we get a great audio quality at the other end, to the point where we're hoping that you can't tell that it's been through 6 repeaters. So right. So So yeah, so this one just shows you which repeater is dominant and where. Exactly right. So it just shows you as to who's who in the zoo, which one you would try first in that area. Yes, kangaroo eye. Well, as much as that doesn't show it, RVH does cover quite a bit of kangaroo eye, at least the east side. So, so that gives you, yeah, there's not much you can see there that's not covered. In that right-hand map, there's a little bit of white in the, a little bit of white in the, just where that is, but that's where hopefully our Wollonga repeater will get rid of most of that. And then I think we can say that we've actually done it for the city. Okay, so this is just another way of looking at it. And I like to say that the green is almost handheld coverage. So again, you can see just where the little bit of a hole is down south, there's a little bit of blue there where I prefer it not to be, between just along the range there down at Wollonga. But other than that, that is very close to being correct. That the green is 20 dB plus from dropping off. So I think most handhelds, if it's set up right, would have a good chance of doing it. So that's a great map, and you can see that we've covered a lot of area, a lot of people under that green area. So
now that the system is nearly complete, and a lot of it is 2 metre for the radios and UHF for the backhaul, you can actually get a little bit of better performance out of it as a mobile driving around the area. If you have a radio that's capable of a rapid scan, with almost no delay between loss of channel, picking up the next one, it'll almost be like a voting network. So as you drive along, you go up the hill, you've got this repeater, go over the hill, you lose that one and you pick up the next one. Now the radio in your car, and in particular the dual bander, scan rapidly, have a fairly short break between the channels, for instance. It's almost a voted network.
yes, yes. And again, a good experiment that we have been playing around with is just a simple commercial VHF radio, and you can program all your frequencies in, and then you can set it up as a quasi-voting system. So it'll scan, it'll find the strongest one, and it'll stop. Now that can be done with 95% of commercial cheapo, you know, old, yes, you can go a long way back and they can do that. So Syntrix is right back to that stage. Yes. So they've been doing it for a long time, and it is valid for a system like that. You can just say, okay, just let it do its thing. It'll find the strongest one. It'll talk on it. And you could go from Tintinara to Port Augusta, not have to change a channel. It'll just find it on the way. So, yeah. Okay. The last one. So there are discussions underway to make some slight extensions. Oh, wow. That's a good idea. So we have done a bit of work up at VK5 RMN, up at Port Pirie, and it is very close to being ready to switch on. So it's taken us 12 months.
I guess one other thing to mention too, with particularly repeaters like RLH, RMN, RVH, sometimes there's comments about, what if I don't want to talk to somebody on the network? Most of these sites now also have a UHF repeater as a standalone machine co-sited with them. So there's a set, almost all of them I think do, except for RLD. So not all. RLD doesn't have it, but RWR does, RLH does, RBV does, RMN does, RBH does, RSB does. The only ones that don't is RAH, RKW, and RSA. So there is a standalone repeater at most of these sites on the other band. So if you do want to have a local chit chat, so the guys in Port Pirie, they'll have, I think they're on 438.5. RLH is on 438.175. RBH is on 438.525. So there's 70 centimetre repeaters for standalone use throughout the system. In the case of Summertown, it's 147.175. So we've deliberately done that because not everybody wants to be on the network talking to the entire state all of the time. And so you've got that opportunity to go local, switch to your local repeater on the other band. And that's been one of the elements of the system design as well.
Correct. And that didn't happen by accident. That was planned. We didn't want to lock people into this system, or we're going to turn everybody off, which I can understand. So when rebuilding these sites, we've always rebuilt a UHF standalone repeater with it to make sure that people had the option. So, and that does seem to help. So yes, RMN is in the pipeline. We've got to prepare RLH to send the signal on, which is just about to be done in the next 3 weeks. And then when the temperature goes below 40, we'll go up to RMN and we'll finish that one off. We put all the antennas on. We've moved the radio system. We've got an agreement with SAPN, so we're sharing their hut now. So it's lovely working there. It's air conditioned, carpet, no mice. It's fantastic. So we've done all that. We've again we fixed up the UHF repeater. So we put an antenna. I think their antenna was 15 foot high. Now it's 170 feet. And we put the RMN 2 metre repeater antenna. Again, it's just a single dipole, but it's at 200 feet on that tower. So it's ready for us to connect. But as I say, we're just waiting for a day that's half humane. I would say that's an autumn job, that one. But we've got some work to do at RLH first, but once that's done, we will be there. So I didn't do all this on my own. I've had a lot of help. I'm sure most of those people think I'm a little crazy, but some of them are crazy too. So they've got to be to help me. So Shane NRV, he's done just mountains, hours, weeks, months of work. And apart from the abuse that I get from him, it just goes fine. So we work very closely to build all this gear. Graham has been great. He's helped us in a lot of history things and what was going on here, where this plan, it was sort of hatched 20 years ago. So he's been great. Paul, well, we just wouldn't have the system without Paul. Ben, well, what can I say about Ben? He was just fantastic. He just gave us advice. He was just full of information. Jeff down at Victor was very helpful. Steve in the north, KSR, Arthur building the controllers. Adrian has been fantastic to give us access to RSB, to work with us, to understand what we were doing. Once again, we wouldn't happen without Arv. Phil has been great because he sponsored some of our sites, helped us get set up, put up with me. So there's been a lot of people that have chipped in. AREG, once again, their help has just lifted us to another level. We really are serious about doing this well, and some of the advice that I get from AREG members is just priceless. There's so much knowledge here in the club that just needs to be tapped, and it's just, yeah, it's been so handy. So, and Don, Mr. Battery, I think every site, I would go as far as to say every site has got Don's batteries in it. Well, they're not Don's. They're mine now, or ours. But he supplied batteries and just supplied batteries. And I was so cheeky, I just keep asking him. And Don probably said some things, but he never, yeah. I've got the last one tonight. So, yeah. So he was really good. He was really good. And most of these sites now, well, RSB is being done in the morning. Our battery backup system is going in tomorrow. But most of these sites will operate for at least 3 or 4 days without power. So if the end of the world did happen, they can cut off our internet, they can switch off our power. We've got 3 days to plan our escape. So, so that's another feature that I forgot to talk about. So there you go. There's a not so brief explanation of what we've been up to, where AREG has been spending a little bit of money, and the way it's working. And you've only got to listen today with Wyson on there doing bits and pieces. You know, we're helping and increasing activity in places like Renmark because they never heard anybody on a repeater only every 3 months. When now at least they're hearing bits and pieces, it gets their interest up. People are talking about VKF, all these different things that are going on, and it is stirring things up. So it's really doing the job that we hoped it would. And we've still got a way to go. Still got a way to go. So we've created a monster, there's no doubt. But anyway, you're a long time dead, so you just keep going. Mount Gambier. We're not allowed to talk about that. Yes, I do. I have some friends down in Mount Gambier, and we do talk about silly things like that. Then we come to our senses. But who knows? Who knows what's around the corner? It just depends on what people want to do and what would be useful. So okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. I hope that you've learnt something, and that all those people that listen talk as well. It's great to hear AREG members on there because you're an important part of it now. You're the hub, and it's being built with you in mind, and we're hoping that it's a high enough quality a system that you want to use it, and it's clear and it's clean and it does what it's supposed to do. And we're certainly taking it seriously, and we hope that it's up to AREG standard. So thanks for listening.
Okay, do we have any questions from the floor?
Hang on a sec.
Hi, Don 5KT here. I had many years in radio at Codan, but I have no idea about repeaters. I understand that there are some linking frequencies used, which you may want not to publicise because you don't want anybody cramming them. The system basically links voice, analog FM, link. But I presume you said the system's quite intelligent, and as soon as one receiver has a squelch open by a user, it will stop all the other receivers. So I presume there is a digital overhead channel going somewhere as well. It's not all analog FM, is it?
Yes, it is. It's all analog FM. So that particular feature that you've just talked about, that is programmed into every repeater. And I don't want to make this too complicated, but it is a great feature. So at every site, we have at least 2 receivers. So you have the main repeater receiver and the link receiver. So that controller is programmed to say, I will only listen to one receiver. So if a signal comes in on the link, it says, okay, I'm going to switch off the repeater. The repeater can't hear. So they all think the same. So that's how it works. So even though it's clever, every site has its own brain, and it works that out.
in the commercial world, we had the same setup. We did this for the ACT system as well, called channel BD, channel BD TX lockout. So the priority, whichever one happens first, it's not the rest of them. So yeah, channel BD TX and bit of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that works great.
So more of just a comment, Dean. It's is this the bit of the E in experimenting? Lots of people 4 years ago said you couldn't do it, and look where it is now.
Look, you're dead right. This whole thing has been an experiment because there's lots of things that we had no idea what was going to happen. We just tried, and we didn't get it right every time. I can guarantee you that. And there's been lots and lots of smoke, but we eventually find out what not to do, and that's exactly right. It's just been a whole experiment, and we're still experimenting. We're still learning with the new things we've done since RSB went in, and we've put them in RSA. RSA was our little guinea pig. We thought, okay, we're going to put them in there to see how this works, and it just works beautifully. So now we've got to drive around all the sites and do it to everyone, but that's okay. That's okay. So yeah, there's a lot of experimenting with antennas, with what I haven't learnt about signal to noise ratios, about, what's the difference between 110 dBm and 120. And I didn't talk like that when I started, where now it actually means something to me, and it's great. It's been great, and it means a lot to, the two of us, both Shane and myself, have learnt, and now we want to put that into the system, because it just, SWR, no, we're talking return loss now. I've upgraded.
That's what I was looking for. Okay, is there anybody else with questions on the floor first? Adrian?
Heading through the receivers out the transmitters, have you got pre-emphasis and de-emphasis? Has that all been disabled? Is it flat for each system?
We used to have it. However, we have, to improve our audio quality, which we found, we've been taking all of our incoming signals on the repeaters come directly off the discriminator. So that's flat.
Yeah, so you're not.
So we've done away with that.
Right.
Yeah, so we've done away. And yeah, we did. So, but we found that if we, there was a page in the controller book that we never read until about 3 weeks ago. And we've learned a lot since we read that page. And so we've worked out how to set these controllers up so much better. And you will notice, well, we certainly notice the difference where we may have a S1 signal, but the audio quality coming out of that S1 signal is just amazing. It's still very easy to listen to, where before we didn't have that and we couldn't work it out what we were doing. But if all else failed, to read the instructions. So,
I suppose a similar question. Do the repeaters pass below 200 hertz, like all they pass TTCS through the repeaters? Or the actual filters of the repeaters?
We switch all them on. Yeah, so it
I
won't.
don't mean the repeaters. If I put a tone through the repeater, will it go through it below 200 hertz?
No,
No.
no, we take all them out.
It's useless.
Yeah, we've got them all removed. So there's tones going everywhere. One of the biggest revelations, well, not the biggest revelation, but one of the big things is how to use CT tones correctly. And there is so many things you can do with them, like the 5-second tail with a 1-second CT tone. It sounds magnificent if that's what you like. Now, a lot of people used to, I don't hear the crash at the end, so I don't know when it stopped. But when we have the courtesy tone, you know they've stopped talking. And it's so much easier to listen to. All the repeaters have IDs. However, we don't switch the ID on. We don't switch the CT tone on with the ID. So if you happen to accidentally leave your radio on at night, you don't get your courtesy tone every 30 minutes. keeping you awake. So it's quiet. So it's still there. It's just that you can take it out by switching on your different. So just little things like that you, oh, that's a great idea, that's a good idea, and you gradually work your way through it and you experiment. You just try it and see what happens. So that's all we've done. That's all we've done. We're not rogue scholars, I can guarantee you that.
Okay. Do we have any questions from Zoom? If you do, just unmute yourself and ask away.
I might start 5SFA.
Go,
Dean, to you and Shane and everybody involved. I mean, it's just a magnificent system. I think I say that every time I use it when I'm on the air. A couple of things I'd like to say. Sometimes you come on and you'll put out a call and no one's there, and that's sometimes throughout the day and the like. And I get that. I'm just wondering if it'd be a good idea somehow to do a giant Zoom session for all the people in all the coverage areas, just like what you've done tonight. Because I think if they understand, especially the most important point that, if you key up in Victor Harbor, when it's all finished, you'll key up in Port Pirie, or out to Renmark and the like. So I think if more people perhaps understood that, they may use a little more. That's one thing. Look, the second one, and it really was spurred by your comment, Dean, about the fact that there's no internet. And that's a good thing, and it's battery backed up, and it'll last for 3 days. Do we have any plans to let the authorities, in inverted commas, know that this thing is available should it all just hit the fan with other systems, and you could be commandeered for an emergency and, be used for that purpose, I guess. So that's the question.
They're really good points. Really good points. I would be more than happy to attempt to do this again for anybody that wanted to listen, because I think if they understand it and why we're doing these things, one of the biggest upheavals in the last 3 months has been the long tail. But that's just because people don't understand what's going on. It's not their fault. It's probably my fault because I'm not getting the message out there all that well. So I'm all for that. I'm also, I'd be really keen to bring this to the authorities' attention. Now, they may just shrug it off. I'm not sure what they think about it. And we have talked about that because it's one of my, I have two sayings. It's a poor man's GRN, and hopefully it'll be the cockroach of the radio system, where everything else will go down, but they'd have to physically go and pull the towers down for this system to break down or to stop if things go wrong, because I just didn't want internet. As much as that's a pain to set up, it's, I think that's one thing that we had to design. And my goal has been to improve it to a point where maybe a SES, or I'm not saying we supply the operators to it, but the system was available to them, that it was reliable enough to offer it to them. And I think it's getting closer. I really do, because it doesn't let us down very often. And with these improvements and learning, I'm getting quite excited about the whole thing. So I think this is really efficient. It's reliable. And even though it's only one channel's better than nothing if we've been hit by some storm and everything's gone down. So I would love to do that when the time is right, and I'm sure there's people that are better qualified than me to make a decision like that.
Okay. Autumn, I see your hand is raised. Any questions for us here?
Thank you for talking about that. Coming back to the notion of the courtesy tone tails, are we closer to seeing some published information as to what they all mean? I've got a few in my head. I was like, I can pick that's that repeater and that repeater. Is there ever going to be a list so that we can start identifying them in full?
Another good point, and yes, definitely. We had intended to do that, and we have intended to do that. However, we have never been able to make the courtesy tones reliable enough. They would play sometimes and not sometimes others, and we've been trying to fix that problem before we do that. Since we read the instructions, we've worked out that we weren't doing anything wrong, but we've worked out another way to do it. So you're exactly right. I would very much like to have a list of these tones, and I've had offers to do it before, and we are getting very close to it now, where I just have them linked on our website to every repeater. You just click on it and you hear it and you say, aha, I know which repeater that is. So yes, I agree with you, and that is going to be done.
Okay, thank you, Autumn. Anyone else on Zoom with any questions?
Yes, Arthur, VK5AI. Thanks, Dean, and your team for the great work. Just a quick question with the tone on transmit from the repeaters. Is there a long-term plan that will be extended to every repeater? And I know it's not everywhere at the moment. Could that chart, the map that shows the repeaters at the moment, could that be amended slightly to indicate which ones have got the tone enabled currently? Back to you.
Yes. Every repeater will have this feature. We've basically, what our thoughts were with this new idea that when we put up RSB 2 meters, we thought we'll put it on there and see if we live through the night, which we did. And as we put it on that one, we put it on RSB 70, and people have got used to it. So if there was a general acceptance that this idea was a good idea, then I thought we're going to do this through the whole system. So yes, it is happening through the whole system. So all the ones we've done up in the last 2 months, RMB, RSB, RAH, RBV and RSA have all got the feature. And from now on, because I think the early days of where there could have been a major backlash have gone, I think, okay, this is working now, so we need to push this home. And I think once everybody gets the hang of what we're trying to do there and to use tone squelch or decode and encode, they'll realise that once they get used to it, it's a lot easier to listen to, and it doesn't drive you as batty with all the static pressure. So yes, that is something that's going to go through the whole system.
No worries, thanks.
Okay, do we have any other final questions from Zoom or from the floor? It looks like everybody. So I'm going to say thank you very much, Dean, for your presentation this evening. I think it's been very well received. Ask everybody to put their hands together, and thanks.